welcome. You are watching the News Hour Agenda. I am Padmaja Joshi. Today, when Yogi Adityanath reached Mumbai to woo investment for his state, a Congress leader in Maharashtra wasn't impressed at all with it. But what he said about it was the really interesting part. Congressman Husain Dalwai opined that in order to get investment for Uttar Pradesh, Yogi Adityanath must look the part. He must look modern. And to look modern, he must wear Western. It was advice that was both on investment and on style. Listen in.
वातावरण तयार करा. त्यासाठी रोज काही धर्माच्या आणि ह्याच्या गोष्टी करण्याऐवजी आणि भगवे कपडे घालून फिरण्याऐवजी जरा मॉडर्न व्हा.
This advice, of course, was quite perplexing, given that hundreds of men and women down the ages, in fact, many of us still wear Indian and saffron clothes and have done pretty well for themselves. From Mahatma Gandhi, Bal Tilak, Swami Vivekanand, these names would jump out at you. Naturally then, the Congress was asked, what explains this saffron elegy, or is it an aversion naturally to all things Bharatiya in general?
Time and again, Hindu आस्था का करो अपमान ताकि चले वोट बैंक की दुकान. This is the same Congress party which said Hindu terror, saffron terror, Hindutva is like ISIS, Gita ji mein jihad hai. Rahul Gandhi must tell us, because he claims to be a Janyudhari Hindu, does he stand with these anti-Hindu comments of Husain Dalwai, or will the Congress party take action on Husain Dalwai and sack him?
क्या ये बयान देश के साधु संतों का, भगवा पहनने वाले हमारे पूजनीय वंदनीय संतों का अपमान नहीं है? कांग्रेस दल और उनके नेताओं को क्या हो गया है? भगवे रंग से इन्हें क्या आपत्ति है? चुनाव समीप आते हैं, उन्हें हिंदू धर्म की याद आती है और चुनाव निकल जाते हैं, उनका असली हिंदू विरोधी चेहरा देश के सामने आता है.
तो कांग्रेस के जो नेता दलवाई हैं, ये पहले अपने वेशभूषा के बारे में ध्यान देना चाहिए. जो टोपी लगाते हैं, बाकी जो इनका वस्त्र है, जो पैजामा ऊपर करके पहनते हैं, उनको जो है भगवा के बारे में बोलने का कोई अधिकार, राइट नहीं है, खासकर हमारे प्रिय मुख्यमंत्री योगी आदित्यनाथ जी के लिए. इसका मैं घोर विरोध करता हूं और निंदा करता हूं.
You're watching the News Hour at 10, debate number 1 on Times Now, Super Prime Time.
Joining us now, Sharad Trivedi, spokesperson of the BJP in Uttar Pradesh, Acharya Vikramaditya, spiritual guru, Lokesh Jindal, leader of the Congress, Dr. Suman Siraman and Anirban Banerjee, both political analysts. I'll start with you, Anirban Banerjee, because I genuinely actually wanted to have this discussion only to find out what is the right piece of clothing to get investment. Because apparently that is also now prescribed. What should you be wearing to get maximum money? Because I want to wear that.
Well, in that regard, what about following those leaders, those political leaders of the past, like Mr. Nehru, who have actually built this modern India from ground up? What about following Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose, who actually showed us what a true political leader should look like? You can choose any dress.
What should they look like?
It is your personal choice. But when you are holding a public post, a public office, and as I said, I gave 2 examples. You wanted some examples, I gave you 2 examples. There are more, of course. Dress is a very personal choice, no questions about that. I am not from that camp who are going to decide what people are going to wear. Therefore, but when you are holding a public office, I think there is some restraint that one should maintain. Because since our constitution is still, at least still, is safe and is secular, therefore why not refrain from blatantly showing what your religious belief is?
But how does religious belief
at our home,
affect your getting investment? How does your religious belief stop you from getting investment?
Religious belief never affects, religious belief religious belief does not affect getting investment or anything else. Religious belief is a very personal choice. Everybody has a right to practice their own religion. But as I said, when you are holding a public office, there are some things, some norms that you should maintain, and we have been shown by the great political leaders of the past.
What are those norms?
That how that should be done.
What are those norms of public office? Because there is no book, there is no manual, there is no rule, it's not in the constitution. What are those norms? What are those norms of public office?
There are some precedences.
Like?
There are some precedences. There are some precedences. I gave you two examples.
Okay.
Two of the greatest political leaders of our country, Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose and Jawaharlal Nehru, both, as far as I know, were practicing Hindus in their private life.
Okay.
But when it came to their political life, none of them meddled with religion and confused it with how to administer the country.
But what does administering the country have to do with what you wear, sir? And as far as people who don't wear bhagwa or who are not dressed like a yogi and their handling of the economy is concerned, do you know that in 1991, under people who did not wear the bhagwa or did not dress like a yogi, India's gold was pledged to the Bank of England and the Bank of Japan. So I can tell you with, from the lessons of history, that wearing Western clothes doesn't automatically guarantee having great administrative skills, and wearing saffron clothes does not in any way ensure that you do not have administrative skills. So what is the actual problem?
Is that a question to me?
Yes, it is a question to you. Because now I think we have safely isolated the fact that wearing Western clothes is in no way making you a better administrator or getting you more investment or making you more acceptable to the country or to investors or to the world.
Not. It is. No, as I said, it is not about wearing Western or Eastern or Oriental clothes. It is about showcasing your politics by donning a particular type of clothing. When you're trying to showcase that I am the face of Hindutva politics, that is a problem.
But
at least in our present constitution, as I said, there should be a line between practicing religion and administration.
But how is his wearing saffron showing that he is the face of Hindutva politics? He is the Chief Minister of Uttar Pradesh who also wears saffron robes.
Of course he is.
He is not the Chief Minister because he wears saffron robes.
Yes, and what is the... Why one becomes a Chief Minister depends on multiple factors, and one of the reasons maybe is the Hindutva politics that the BJP preaches. So, and Mr. Adityanath, being a member of the BJP, is also part of that politics.
So
that
he has been wearing the same thing since he was member of parliament.
When the BJP wants to preach its politics, they can do it without breaking the law.
People voted him into parliament. Then he was made the Chief Minister.
Yes,
people voted him back into power as Chief Minister.
He could have avoided that.
But why should he avoid it?
As I said, there is no written law regarding what a Chief Minister or a Minister should wear. As I told you, that is the norm, that is the precedence that our previous political leaders have set. You can consider Mr. Atal Bihari Vajpayee, one of the very revered leaders of the BJP RSS group.
Who also wore a dhoti, by the way.
He did not ever wear any particularly religious. Yes, of course he wore dhoti. Dhoti is not directly linked with any religion as far as my knowledge goes.
Dhoti is okay, but saffron you shouldn't wear.
When you are preaching a type of politics...
Can you wear a green dhoti?
I didn't say saffron you shouldn't wear. You can wear anything you want. But as I said, when you are in a public office, there are some norms, some precedents that has been set.
Okay. I don't know what are those norms of precedence exactly, because I tried to go back and think of all of our prime ministers, and actually every single picture that I remember of our prime ministers, at least in our textbook, they were all wearing Indian clothes. They were all either in achkan or in dhoti. So I do not know what is this precedence you are talking about. The only thing I think which you are not saying in so many words, but you are insinuating, is that no administrator should be wearing saffron because that seems more religious than governmental. Sharad Trivedi. It's just that when you are in government, you should look like an administrator and not like the Mahant. I think that really is the unspoken thing that everyone is tiptoeing around. Sharad Trivedi.
I don't know how to respond to this, but I personally and the whole country belongs to the tradition of which one of the most prominent persons following that tradition was Swami Vivekananda. When he went to address the World Religious Conference in Chicago in US, some lady had told him that how shabbily this man is dressed. He was obviously wearing Indian clothes and saffron. So he responded that, ma'am, in your country it is the clothes which make a man, in my country it's the character which makes man. But I think in Congress probably the clothes are making the man. And I have not seen, I have in Mrs. Gandhi, whether right in her presence or in any movie or films or photographs, that she was wearing any Western clothes. She was always wearing an Indian sari. I don't think she was, if by those standards, probably she was less nationalistic than what Congress is professing to be today. This is this party is in the abyss and is probably very soon going to have an epitaph written for it.
So here's the thing: I do not think even though the comment loosely
are coming from this
even
party.
though the comment loosely, Mr. Trivedi, was about wearing Indian, I think the real insinuation, which is why I had that whole conversation with Anbar Banerjee, the real insinuation was that why is he wearing saffron, Lokesh Jindal, isn't it? That's the problem. Why is Yogi Adityanath dressed like a yogi? Because when you are a yogi, apparently, Lokesh Jindal, you cannot be a chief minister or an administrator. That really is the unsaid thing in this whole conversation today.
See, Padmaja, when we talk about saffron color, it is usually worn by monks who are into austerity, away from the worldly matters of politics, economics and society. But we are living in an age whereby a monk who claims to be a monk but is very much involved in politics, economics and society. The Constitution of India clearly states that India is a secular state. So basically we expect the head of the state at least to embody the very principles of the Constitution and act in the manner in which the Constitution wants it to act. Now, a particular chief minister of a state is becoming the brand ambassador of the Hindu religion by wearing a saffron dress, and which is away from the very principles that saffron dress addresses to, that saffron dress indicates. The point is, या तो पूरी तरह से भगवादारी बैराग धारण कर लो, या तो आप बाबा जी बन जाओ, हम तो काशी विश्वनाथ में आपके चरणों पे आएंगे, या तो फिर become a professional administrator, a politician, a bureaucrat, or whatever capacity you want to work in.
पर शफीउर रहमान बर्क से तो कोई ये बातें नहीं बोलता।
हाँ जी,
शफीउर रहमान बर्क तो आते हैं, अपनी टोपी भी पहनते हैं, अपनी अचकन भी पहनते हैं, अपनी दाढ़ी भी रखते हैं, फिर भी वो सांसद रहते हैं। उनसे कोई तो नहीं कहता ये।
गलत बात है, गलत बात है।
क्यों गलत बात?
बिल्कुल गलत बात है। देखिए, अगर कोई if someone puts an attire of following a particular religion, trying to claim that he is away from the worldly spheres of life, he has adopted a lifestyle that is dedicated to a particular religion, or he is pursuing God, or away from all forms of. But who has said that wearing
saffron means you have already given up the worldly, pursuits? ये कहाँ पे लिखा है that only those people wear saffron who are not in any way involved in worldly pursuits? Who says that?
If I am talking about the saffron that is born in the spirit, which a muni, in fact, the yellow robe, the saffron wearers, they were usually those who had left their households and who are monks in full capacity, and they do not have to deal anything with the worldly matters. Those were the people who used to wear saffron.
Acharya,
but here we are having.
So people who are wearing saffron should be sitting on Mount Kailash. Why are you sitting here on TV? And why is Yogi Adityanath sitting in Mumbai? Lokesh Jindal is very unhappy.
मुझे ऐसा लगता है यहाँ पर कि कुछ लोगों के अब मेंटेलिटी में अभी भी वो वेस्टर्नाइज कल्चर अभी भी चल रही है। इनके दिमाग में जो जेंटलमैन की जो डेफिनेशन है ना, वो अंग्रेजों वाली चल रही है अभी तक। बेसिकली वो आयरनी है इस देश की कि ये सिविलाइज्ड पर्सन उसी को मानते हैं जो पैंट कमीज कोट इत्यादि पहनता है, बाकी सब तो इनके लिए है ही नहीं, मतलब वो सब आदमी नहीं है जो इनकी मेंटेलिटी रही है। मुझे लगता है नेहरू के जमाने से ये मेंटेलिटी रही है कि जब नेहरू जी ने लिखा कि मैं एक्सीडेंटल बेसिकली इंडियन हूं, हिंदुस्तान में पैदा हुआ, वो वेस्टर्न चाहते थे। ये मेंटेलिटी वहां से है कि बेसिकली हिंदुस्तान में इंफीरियरिटी कॉम्प्लेक्स पैदा करना चाहते हैं, यानी आपको अपनी कल्चर में विश्वास नहीं है। अरब गए हैं कभी आप? अरब देखा होगा, टीवी पे तो देखा होगा, घूमते भी रहते हैं, पढ़े लिखे लोग हैं सारे आप लोग। वहां के जितने इंडस्ट्रियलिस्ट हैं वो सारे के सारे वो सिर पे वो जो टर्बो साइकिल की टायर है ना वो लगा के घूमते हैं। यू कॉल देम अ कल्चर्ड पर्सन, क्योंकि आपको वहां से कोई दिक्कत नहीं होती। वहां जो घूमते हैं वो लोग, वो चोगा पहनकर, उनको आप बिल्कुल मान रहे हैं, उनकी कोई दिक्कत नहीं है आपको। लेकिन यहां पर अफ्रीका जाइए, अफ्रीका के अंदर बहुत सारे एक अरबी राष्ट्रपति थे वहां के, मैं नाम भूल रहा हूं उनका, और वहां उन्होंने वो यूएन की मीटिंग में अपनी कल्चरल ड्रेस में गए। यानी आपको अपने कल्चर में विश्वास है ही नहीं, आप चाहते ही नहीं है। आप लोग जो दास्ता की बेसिकली अंग्रेजों की जो दास्ता रही है उसी की छाप में आप रहना चाहते हैं। अपने जो बेसिकली कल्चर को आप भूल गए हैं। कल्चर हमारी क्या थी? कल्चर हमारी धोती, सैफरन, ये सब चीजें थी ना, कुर्ता पैजामा, ये सब हमारी कल्चर।
Actually a word for this. Brown Sahib.
आप उसको डेफिनेशन
Little brown Sahib. Lokesh Jindal.
The person who is wearing these kind of dress, he is not a gentleman.
नो स्वामी जी, मैं आपको कुछ कहना चाहूँ। देखिए, हमारा जो कल्चर था वो ये था कि हिंदू धर्म जो था, अद्वैतवाद की अगर आप बात कर लो, सुनिए
आपको पता ही नहीं भाई साहब, हमारा कल्चर देखिए जाकर, हमारा कल्चर तो,
अरे सुन तो लीजिए
जो जितने भी
आप सुनिए, धर्म अर्थ काम मोक्ष, अगर मैं इन 4 वर्णाश्रम धर्म की बात करता हूं, इसमें जो मोक्ष है, जो चौथा स्तंभ है, जिसमें एक व्यक्ति वानप्रस्थ आश्रम ग्रहण करता था, उसके बाद में वो व्यक्ति भगवा धारण कर लेता था कि अब मैं धर्म अर्थ काम से अलग हो चुका हूं, अब मेरी राह मोक्ष के प्रति है। लेकिन आप ऐसे भगवादारी हैं,
सिविलाइज नहीं थे क्या? वो हिंदुस्तान को सोने की चिड़िया नहीं बना रखे थे?
Lokesh Jindal, I will stop you here. I love how you have very widely misinterpreted कि कौन से अलग अलग आश्रम होते हैं जीवन में। थोड़ा बहुत तो हमने भी पढ़ा है, आपका गृहस्थ आश्रम होता है, वनप्रस्थ आश्रम होता है। वनप्रस्थ आश्रम का भगवा पहनने से कुछ लेना देना नहीं है। These are just different stages in life, सर। कि आपका गृहस्थ आश्रम के बाद ये माना जाता था, और ये भी कहीं लिखा नहीं हुआ है that आप वनप्रस्थ आश्रम में हैं तो आप भगवा पहनेंगे और फिर आप जिंदगी में कुछ नहीं करेंगे। This was just to say how different stages in life are divided. But you still haven't answered my question. Now let's just hold on a second. Let me just clarify that one point that you mentioned, where Acharya Vikramaditya, the association of the color saffron is with somebody who has given up on worldly pleasures, worldly pursuits, power, money, having a household. They've given up on that. So for somebody who's a chief minister sitting there in office with Bhagwa is contradictory. That is what Lokesh Jindal is saying.
Chanakya. Take an example of Chanakya. All the spiritual saints who used to be have been defined in our culture, in our Puranas, they all were the ministers, they all were the sadhus. They were handling basically the whole affairs of the state by the. Take example of Vashisht, take an example of Chanakya. All these spiritual leaders, they were the saints and they were managing the country, they were managing the state. Everything was managed by these people. They're the learned people. You can't say this thing.
In fact, if you're talking about people who are directly or indirectly,
Raja nahi hai is desh ke andar koi bhi. Raja nahi hai is desh mein.
In politics, sir, some of the strongest figures of politics in our country have been those who have been yogis. Officially they may not have been धीरेन्द्र ब्रह्मचारी, चंद्र स्वामी. क्या बात कर रहे हैं आप सर? ऐसी बात नहीं है. कम से कम योगी आदित्यनाथ is formally elected first to our parliament and then to our legislative assembly. There are people who have sat on the outside जिन्होंने सरकारें बनाई हैं और सरकारें गिराई हैं और उन सबने भी भगवा पहना हुआ है. But anyway, let me.
Okay, Padmaja, two, three quick points. First point is very simply that this is Mr. Dalwai's personal opinion. So I'm glad that you have been graceful enough not to ask for Rahul Gandhi to apologize or, take action or whatever. So this is one individual's opinion. Second, very important, saffron, as we all know, is a color of courage. It is a color of sacrifice. There is no doubt about it. The point that Mr. Dalwai is making is actually he could have pointed to any number of ministers in the present government who constantly dress up in Western clothes when they go abroad. I mean, have you seen Mr. Piyush Goyal and so many other ministers at these, industry summits?
And they constantly dress up in Indian clothes also when they go abroad.
So now, they do. So he was not saying Yogi Adityanath ji should never dress in saffron clothes. Did he say that? It's his personal opinion. One more very important point. In 2017, Dr. Subramaniam Swamy, who was then a BJP MP, actually called out members of the cabinet where he said, in fact, I don't want to use the term, he said that many of them are looking like waiters when they dress in Western clothes and go on. But the point really is that this is something which has been pointed out against BJP MPs, asking them not to dress in Western clothes. If they feel that they want to dress in Western clothes, and then you are conflating that.
I'm sorry, what is the logic? That is not what was said at all. What was said was, if you are coming to Mumbai to ask for investment, then you must dress in a modern way.
One second.
You should be modern and dress modern. Now let's talk about some facts. Just today.
The point he was making exactly.
How do you know, sir, unless you are some kind of Dalwai whisperer and you have figured out what Mr. Dalwai meant, contrary to what he actually said. What he said was
modern?
this.
You tell me what is modern. You tell me what is modern.
I think
and people believe that Western clothes are modern.
Exactly. You asked me what I think is modern as opposed to what Mr. Dalwai said, sir. Is this about dissecting me, what I wanted to say, or is it about actually discussing the issue at hand?
No, the point is, when industrialists are being met in a global environment, people tend to wear Western clothes, whether they are Congress people or BJP people.
Why should you have to wear it?
Now, whether it is right or wrong, we can have a
somebody choosing to be dressing like that is another thing. But for somebody to be shamed and said, "Arey, you have come here to look for investment, at least dress modern," is a very different thing. And it reeks of elitism. You should be asking Husain Dalwai, what is modern? What is modern according to you? And actually now let's come down to facts. Here is what the non-modern...
Why are they aping the West?
Here is what you should not be aping the West, which is what Mr. Dalwai is asking for. That you ape the West in order to seem modern, in order to seem acceptable to businessmen and industrialists. But here let me give you a couple of facts. Here is what today has been announced in addition to meeting a string of industrialists. Here is what the UP government says has emerged from today's meeting. You've been promised investment worth 5 lakh crores. You've got artificial intelligence, better medical facilities being given with the help of artificial intelligence. You've got a Kaushal Vikas Kendra that has been promised in Noida, which will have 10,000 young people in it. You have got 4 factories of Godrej already working. Another factory in Barabanki has been promised. Lodha Group has promised housing projects in Varanasi and Gorakhpur and Ayodhya. Seems to be pretty okay for somebody who wasn't looking very modern. Mr. Sharad Trivedi.
Well, I think I would just like to add to the previous discussion one thing, that the so-called epitome of modernism, which is England, the head of the state is wearing skirt. So I think the Congress should lead from the front, and Mr. Rahul Gandhi should be advised to start wearing skirt in his Padyatraya from now onwards. How crazy can these things go? Mr. Yogi is the most modern chief minister that we have had till date. There were 4 chief ministers who did not visit Noida because they thought that the moment they enter Noida, they had a superstition that they'd lose their job. He has visited Noida almost on a monthly basis. The delivery, he has delivered what the UP was waiting for 65 years. We have had the largest number of road building projects in Uttar Pradesh. We have 6 expressways, we have had 10 metros, we have had 7 commissionaries in Uttar Pradesh, we have had the largest land reclamation project and land acquisition project in the history of Uttar Pradesh. We have had 43 lakh houses being built and more toilets being built in Uttar Pradesh than the population of Delhi. We have had 1 crore 60 lakh gas connections, 1 lakh 60 crore power connections in Uttar Pradesh.
Okay.
This is the breakneck speed at which the Uttar Pradesh is working. We have Uttar Pradesh has reached from 16th position to the 2nd position in ease of business. We are the 2nd largest economy already. This is the level of development which a so-called backward and a less modern Chief Minister has done.
Lokesh Jindal.
It's shocking that the way the opposition is going into ridiculous conclusions.
Sir,
like
let me correct you.
Ideas.
Modernity is a way of life. Modernity is a way of life whereby all aspects of right and wrong are determined by a person's own intelligence and rationality rather than relying upon some form of a scripture or external authority. You know, man emancipates himself from his own self-imposed darkness. That's what modernity is. A modern person knows what's right, what's wrong. He does not wait for an external authority like that of religion or scripture. Now, when I'm talking about this modern nation state or a person like Yogi Adityanath, okay, fine, whatever is his personal belief system. But when he is working in the capacity of a chief minister of the state, now let me tell you, all the investment that is coming, it is based upon modern principles of rational analysis and investments. Now, over here, you cannot simply become the epitome of a conservative society, trying to do Havan, trying to preach all forms of conservatism. So you want a modern economy with a conservative society. No, so you want a modern economy, with a traditional society. It's like having a Mercedes car driven by bullock carts.
No, it's not. Get the Mercedes car home. How are the two related? Anyhow, if you're actually thinking of what a modern society, I actually want you to listen to what Boni Kapoor, the film producer, today said about Uttar Pradesh. Listen in.
महाराज जी ने यूपी को क्राइम फ्री कर दिया. That is one big reason why film industry feels comfortable coming to UP and shooting in UP. I have done 2 films there and I hope to do many more films. And I hope this journey of Maharaj ji continues and entire country takes a lead on him to make country crime free.
Okay, I would think it is a modern society if there are people who are saying that Uttar Pradesh has been made crime-free. Lokesh Jindal.
See, Padmaja, crime, no crime, administration, but when I'm talking about the present context within which the statement is being said, you need, in a modernized economy, you need a modernized society as well. I mean, when a company is going to manufacture products, it is going to manufacture for the society. So a society, when it becomes modern, rational, enlightened in its outlook, it is able to become the base on which the economy sets itself into. You cannot think of having a progressive, modernized scientific economy working with machines and industries, and you can have a society that is still based upon dogmatic belief system, whose demand behavior, all forms of decisions are based upon certain dogmatic scriptures. It goes hand in hand.
First of all, just because belief systems are there doesn't make them automatically dogmatic, and people can have a modern belief system and still be acutely religious at the same time. And that actually is what sets India apart, that the two are able to very comfortably coexist. Or as you said in the beginning, that you can have a Mercedes and you can still be doing a yajna in the morning. Thanks very much, all gentlemen, for joining me.